Hi Supercharger. In this video, and I'm sorry for it, we're gonna have to look at some clashing colors and then think about how we can actually make the two different hues work together. So we're gonna be fixing those clashing colors. As you can see in the example on the top, I've created a couple of really clashing colors. And you can see usually when colors are clashing, there's this kind of invisible line that appears that we see that is kind of like vibrating a little bit if you look at those two different colors next to each other. So like you can really see that these colors should never really have to work together in a user interface. And one of the most common reasons why it happens, as I already shared in some of the previous videos, is if the perceived brightness of those two colors are really similar, they can very easily clash. So you can see in here I added a layer that changes the blending mode to a hue, and you can see that like in some of them it's maybe more noticeable that there are actually two different shades in here. So like the contrast in these two is not really that invisible, but in some of these it's almost impossible to discern the two colors from each other. So that's one of the reasons why it happens. Let's now think of the way how we can solve it. So I'm going to be using one approach for the left combination and one approach for the right combination. It's the two colors just like reverse. So like in here, one thing that you can do is actually lower the saturation for both of them. So like just maybe setting it down like to like 30-40, and it's already going to be working. Now it's very noticeable in not the same combination. So like if you want to make it a little bit more subtle, you can do so just by maybe doing in here and lowering their saturation a little bit in here. Like it's still noticeable like orange on some kind of a teal blue color, but it's already working a bit better. And it's important to maybe modify something else as well, to like increase brightness or decrease brightness on some of these to make it work a bit better. So like if we make this a little bit darker and less saturated and this a little bit brighter but less saturated, you're already kind of fixing the main clashing point. Another approach that you can take is also think about luminosities, so like the perceived brightness of each color. So for orange, we can maybe shift it more towards the yellow one, as it's gonna be the peak of luminosity. So we can just shift the hue by like 5 or 6, and in this one we're gonna shift it more towards the dark, like the blue one, again maybe just like 6, and it's already going to be better. Again, like if we already lower the brightness in here as well and maybe increase the saturation, while in here if we also do that but increase the brightness a little bit and decrease the saturation, you now have a color combo that works better. So it's just like a couple of points on each of these values, and it is not going to be the same, but it is something that it's going to make it work. So in one of the assignments, you're going to be tasked to do exactly the same thing for a couple of these and maybe some more. But another way to do it, so it's not just by kind of changing the brightness for one to be lighter, for the other one to be darker, removing the saturation a little bit on both of them, and also shifting the hues for one towards a peak and for the other one towards the luminosity bottom. Another thing that you can do, and it's very common in logos, when you want to use two vivid shades that are maybe not working that well together, is to just add like a stroke or like some kind of a visual break between the two colors. So like now they're working a lot better together. We have our like Christmassy theme in here, and it's just because they're not really next to each other. So that's one approach. It's maybe not going to be doable for some of the UI needs that you're going to have, but it's something to keep in mind that you can also do that to make it work. So if you think about a lot of logos, if you take their colors and put them next to each other, they might be clashing, but because they have those visual breaks like the Windows logo or something, it's actually working because of that. So yeah, hopefully this makes sense. You understand what to look out for when you need to modify colors that are clashing, and how you can achieve like a similar effect. Again, it's not going to be 100% the same because that's never going to be doable. But if you keep in mind the brightness, the saturation, and shifting the hues towards local peaks and bottoms of the perceived brightness that we have for each color, you're actually going to be able to make two colors that are rarely working well together work a lot better. So keep that in mind, and hopefully this lesson was helpful. See you in the next one.